Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today on Deborah Kobylt Live. I have the coolest guest in studio with me. I was dying to get him on, and we were lucky enough to get him. He's calling us from New Mexico, Chef Fernando Ruiz. Did I say that right?
Ruiz.
Oh, do it to me again. I love that. I
That's,
love the way you say that. Thank you so much.
thank you.
You
Thank you
are
for
a,
having me.
oh, yeah, no, you are such a cool guy. We got a lot to talk about with you, but just recently, you came in with the top honors on the Food Network show Beat Bobby Flay. You also won Chopped on the Food Network and Guy's Grocery Games on the Food Network. Clearly, you are a Food Network darling. What an incredible story you've got, huh?
Right? Who would have known I would have been in the position I'm getting put into in the last 40 days? Who would have
Um,
known?
let's start. You also work right at which restaurant do you work at over in New Mexico?
Right now, I am in northern New Mexico at the largest Chama Land and Cattle Company. That's in Chama, New Mexico, and it's a very exclusive, high-end hunting and fishing resort. It's humongous. I mean, it's a $10 million lodge. The ranch itself is 37,000 acres,
Wow.
and yeah, humongous. And we're really close to the Rockies. I mean, we're 20, 25 miles south of the Colorado state line. And so basically we're in the Rocky Mountains in the outskirts,
Man,
southern Rockies.
Fernando, you are living the dream, aren't you?
Now it feels like a dream. The last 30, 40 days, it feels kind of surreal because I never got this much recognition or the attention when I won Guys Grocery Games or Chopped. But after beating Bobby Flay, I mean, it's gotten a little out of control, which is great. I've been able to get excited the last 2, 3 weeks about stuff that I'm talking to my manager with, and actually he's out of the California area, Mr. John McGallard. He's so cool, and he's working on some big things, and it's weird. It's something out of a fairy tale book. You know what I mean?
Well,
Especially because of my background. I
that's what
mean,
I was
that's
going to say. Your background is
technically,
sort of crazy to think that you would land here, right? So let's back it up a little bit. You're 13 years old, okay? What were you doing when you were
yep.
13? Were you sitting around with an apron in your mom's house or no?
Not really. When I was 13, I got jumped into a gang and I started selling drugs at 13, started trafficking drugs at 14, 15, carrying guns around, trafficking guns, trafficking people from Nogales, Arizona to the Phoenix area because I grew up in the Phoenix area. And yeah, I grew up in and out of jail as a young kid and going in and out of jail. And yeah,
Well,
technically I shouldn't be here right now.
I know, and I asked you, I said, what kind of a family did you come from? Because very often it's a very broken family. And you said to me,
Zero. Mom and dad, I've never seen mom and dad argue. I've never seen mom and dad abuse drugs or alcohol. I have two older brothers, a younger sister. They never got into trouble. I That was something I put myself in. I liked it, um, and it's stupid to say, but that's what I liked. I mean, I liked selling drugs. I liked the women and the gold and the money and the hotel rooms and the cars, and but all that goes away quick within seconds.
well, it goes away real quick when you end up in prison, right? You were in prison 15 times. Am I
I
right
mean,
about that?
I probably went to jail about 15, 12 to 15 times. I spent most of my time there at Maricopa County Jail at Joe Arpaio's tent city. I mean, basically living in army tents out in the desert in 120-degree weather with 800 other inmates. I mean, yeah, it was rough,
But you know what's
and it's
amazing to
not
me?
a.
Well, a guy
I'm
like
sorry, go.
you, right? You know, when you're a young guy and you're in prison, you get in, you get out, you get in, you get out. You didn't learn your lesson after prison time number 8. I mean, you were just. It seems like you were just so attracted to that bad boy, really bad
I
boy
wasn't.
stuff.
I wasn't ready. I mean, and when I say I wasn't ready to stop. I mean, like I said, I liked it. I didn't like going to jail. I liked what was going on in the streets and how I was making my money and doing that sort of stuff. Jail's not fun. That's the consequence of doing bad things. But there is a time where either you're going to learn from it or not learn from it. And it's up to you. It was up to me. It's not up to my mom and dad if they want to get me out of a gang or get me to stop selling drugs or being a drug addict or whatever the case might be. It's up to the person. And usually it comes from one day to the next to where it's like, okay, I'm done. Like, and that's what I did. I wasn't really a drug addict. I mean, I've done my fair share of drugs growing up and stuff. The hardest part for me was to stop selling drugs. But I told myself from one day to the next, like, after this, I'm done. No more. It's over. Like, I'm done.
Okay.
And that's what I did.
Yep. You were in prison.
It's up to the person. It's up to the person. It's up to the individual.
Right. And you were in prison. You were telling me that they had tons of food, right, that they would just deliver. Half the time it was outdated or whatever. And you found yourself in the kitchen. So take me from there.
The kitchen jobs in the jails, that's the jobs that everybody wants because you get to eat good in there. And you eat like shit. You eat like shit in the general population. And I hate to say it, and that's just the way it is.
So what were you cooking up in the kitchen? What were you cooking up in there?
We were cooking from beef stroganoff to red chili beef enchiladas to whatever we can come up with, or making some kind of goulash, whether it was with macaroni elbows and ground beef or whatever. But then again, all the food is donated. It's expired from supermarkets and whatnot, and that's meant to save the taxpayers' money. And so basically we had to come up and invent whatever we could with what we had in the jails and the kitchens there, because we weren't allowed to order anything. So basically whatever we got donated, that's what we had to make do with, whether it was the bread or the green bologna, because bologna turns green after it expires, but it's still technically edible. And basically that's what we were feeding is green bologna.
Okay, hang on. So what'd you do? Like chop up the bologna and serve it to the prisoners?
We would do chopped bologna with like scrambled eggs, or we would do fried bologna with mashed potatoes. And I remember this one time I was in there, we got a big shipment of beef liver. And it was like 2 tons of beef liver, like an excessive amount. And I think I want to say I was probably there for that time, maybe 3 or 4 months. And in the 3 or 4 months I was in that, I spent that little stint in there. That's all we served for dinner was either liver steaks, or we'd do fried liver steaks, or we'd turn the liver into gravy and put that over the mashed potatoes or liver and onions. And that's all we could serve the other inmates for like at least 90 days straight that I was in there.
You know what? That's bound to cause an wait, hang on. That's bound to cause an uprising right there. I mean, if you have like a couple of months worth of liver on your plate every night at the prison, I think I would cause a riot myself.
And they know, like, that's, and we would tell them once we would go back to our pods or whatever into our little population area, and they would ask, like, hey, what's going on? Like, why we just get liver and liver? It's like, that's all we got. Like, that's all we can do. But us that worked in the kitchens, we had access to all the other food that wasn't enough to support the population, so that's what we would eat. But sometimes, depending on which officer was working that day or that night, we would be able to tell if we were going to get strip searched before we go back to our cells. So a lot of times we knew about 4 or 5 guards that really weren't into all that, like, hey, take off your clothes and blah, 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 and this and that before they sent us back in. So what we would do is, like, we'd get duct tape and, like, tape up 6 packs of Cokes around our stomachs and get, like, cooked steaks and tape them inside of our legs under our clothes and, like, sneak those into our pods and, like, share it with the other people because we knew they were tired of eating liver every day.
Wow. Okay. Now let's cut a couple years after that. So all of a sudden, you're out of prison, right? I guess you finally got out one last time, and you said to yourself, That's it. I'm going to get my
That's
GED
it,
degree, right? You just sort of straightened
right?
up. And then you ended up going to culinary school, which is amazing. And you graduated from there in 1999. So take me from graduating culinary school and trying to make it clean. And then you met someone in your life who really helped guide you to this point. Who would that be?
That would be my wife, Michelle, which is basically my support and my rock. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be in the position I am now.
It's always a
So
woman.
basically, yeah, there's all behind a successful man. There's even a more successful woman,
Hmm. I agree.
and she's the one that got me to do these shows on Food Network. So I left culinary school in '99. I went to Colorado to Vail for about 5 years, and then I ended up in New Mexico, and that's where I met my wife. And we moved in maybe the second day after we met each other, second or third day. And
Wow.
we've been
Talk about
together
attraction.
now. Yeah, right. And now we've been together for about 18 years. We got 3 little kids running around the house. And when I had met her, maybe about a year after that, I gave up on cooking. I was done. Like I
Oh,
didn't.
wow.
We met in this little restaurant here in northern New Mexico, and it wasn't working out the way I wanted it to work out. And I told her, like, I'm moving back to Phoenix. And when I said that, I already knew what my intentions were, and that was start selling drugs and make some quick money and maybe come back to New Mexico with her.
Oh,
And
no.
she said no.
No,
She
no.
said no. Yeah, that was already, I had given up,
You were going to go
and
bad
that
again. Oh, my gosh.
I was gonna go back. I already knew what
Oh,
I was gonna do,
I'm so upset to hear this. I
and
didn't know that. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so.
And she says no. She said, tomorrow we're going to get ready. I'm going to take you to Santa Fe. She says, there's some great restaurants there. We're going to put applications in there. You have to get a job in Santa Fe. Sure
Wow.
enough, the next day I get a job at a fine dining steakhouse in Santa Fe. But I start at the bottom, just like everything else. You know what I mean? I started off as a grill cook. And within a year, I was the sous chef there at that fine dining steakhouse. And she said, like, I told you, like, this is where it's going to be. Like, you can make a name for yourself in Santa Fe and this and that. And so rewind that, we can fast forward that to about 6 years ago, and I'd probably be done about 5 fine dining, really high-end restaurants in Santa Fe by that time. And so about 6, 7 years ago, I get approached by Food Network asking me if I was interested in doing the show on Food Network.
Okay. How did they
And I
find
told
you,
which
though?
one.
How did they find you?
They found me through a chef friend of mine who was also on Guy's Grocery Games the year prior.
Oh,
And the producers called him and said, hey, do you know of any chefs who might be good for the show? And he was like, oh, yeah, call Fernando. And so they ended up calling me like 2 days later. And they asked me, hey, would you be interested in doing the show on Food Network? It's called Guy's Grocery Games and this and that. And I told them no. I said, that's not something I'm interested in. Thank you so much. You know, thank you for thinking about me, but that's not something I want to do. And so like 3, 4 months go around, and they call me again. Hey, we'd really be interested in you thinking about being on the show. Like, you'd be great. You got a great personality. We love your story. And my wife was like, dude, you have to do this. Like, you
well,
have to be.
hang on, though. Didn't you
And
tell
I said,
me? Didn't you tell me you were like a little bit
go ahead.
afraid that like some of the gang
I was.
members and those?
I didn't want to do it. I
Yeah.
didn't want to be on national TV. That wasn't something I wanted to do. And my main reason is because I didn't want people to see me on TV that I grew up with getting in trouble with, whether I was moving drugs for them or we were working together, or maybe I got into a confrontation at one point and some guns were pulled and some shots were fired. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to be in contact with those people.
Right.
And that was my biggest fear. And my wife was like, no, like, you have to do it. Like, there's so many people that try to be on these shows and they never get on, and they're asking you to do it. And it's like, man. And so she convinced me. And still, I wasn't convinced when I got to Napa Valley to do Guys Grocery Game. I almost gave up in the first round. Like, I almost threw my hands in the air. It's like, nope, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this. But I ended up finishing round one. I ended up winning round one, and I told myself I can actually win this thing. And I really got into it in the second and third round of guys' grocery games, and I ended up winning $14,000.
Oh my gosh, that is just incredible.
Yeah.
And then not too long after that, you were on the show Chopped. I mean, that's such a huge show, Chopped.
Here's another thing I didn't mention to you. So after I win guys' grocery games, I tell myself, okay, I'm done. I'm never going to put myself through that kind of pressure.
No.
Like, I made everybody happy. I did what my wife told me to do, and I did it, and I actually won. And so with that money, we were using that money for a down payment on a home.
Hmm.
And so I get the check for guys' grocery games like 2 months after we film. And we used $4,000 to pay some bills, and we got $10,000 for a down payment on a home. 2 months later, our house got broken into, and they took everything. And when I say they took everything, they took everything.
Oh.
And I told myself, it's like, why am I busting my ass for this to happen? Like, why am I doing this? Why did I win that show for this to happen? And so everyone's devastated. I mean, the kids' clothes are gone, TVs, tablets,
Oh my God.
Nintendos, all my guns are gone, my wife's engagement ring, cameras, everything's gone. And so what I did is went to the bank, probably about a week later, and I was still fired up. Like, I was angry at the world. I went to the bank without nobody knowing, without my wife knowing, and I withdrew the $10,000. And what was I going to do? I was driving. I was already on the road driving to Phoenix because Fernando was going to go buy a half a kilo of cocaine with the $10,000 and bring it back and flip it and get his family's stuff back. That's what I was going to do.
Fernando, you're killing me. I didn't know this. Okay, keep going. You got me hanging
and I
here.
Turned around. I turned around halfway from New Mexico to Phoenix. I turned around, came back home. And by the time I came back to the Santa Fe area where we were living at the time, a little north of Santa Fe, I stopped at the stores and I bought tablets, I bought TVs, I bought my wife her camera back, everything I could get back that they got.
Good boy, Fernando. I am proud of you. I'm telling, and your wife must have been waiting for you at the front door, like, Fernando, where were you?
And I mean, and it's like, well, there goes the $10,000 for the down payment on the home. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. And so they asked me to do Chopped, and I told them absolutely not. And it took me about another 6 months for my wife to convince me.
Okay, you are like a stubborn guy. You thank God for your wife. This woman is your angel, without a doubt, on your left and your right shoulder, looking out for you. She's incredible. I need to have her on the show next time.
She's always seen something in me. You know what I mean? She always said it. She always said it like, I saw it in you. I knew you had something in you to where you're doing what you're doing now. And honestly, like, she convinced me to do Chopped. And I didn't want to do it. Like, I'm not, like I said, I didn't want to be on any of these shows. I didn't sign up for them, which is fine. Here comes my wife now. She's walking out of the house, bless her heart.
Tell her I said hello.
I will. I'm going to get her to jump in here.
But no, because just in the name of time, so then you end up on Chopped, okay, and you're thinking, oh man, this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to happen, and then bingo, you win.
My goal is not my goal for any of those competitions was not to be the first chef to go home. That was my goal. I wasn't there to win. I wasn't there with the intentions of winning. I just didn't want to be the first chef to go home. And then I ended up winning Chopped, and I'm not a pastry chef by any means. And I won the pastry round, and I won $10,000, and there we go again. You know what I mean? And then,
I hope you got a good alarm system in your home with that money, because you don't want to have that happen to you again.
Yeah, I know. And now we live in northern New Mexico. We live out in the mountains and stuff. We don't have no neighbors. We live in a very rural area, which is great. Kids got space to run around.
So you win. I mean, you win Chopped. What do you think it is about you that you're winning these shows? 3 shows. Are you the first guy to win 3 shows on the Food Network? Actually.
Yeah, that's one of the
Okay.
number one accolades.
That's amazing. I mean, I think you have just sort of the kind of personality where you're just so likable. You've got the kind of story that everybody's rooting for you, and you've got
See, and
talent.
I didn't have this personality growing up. I was quiet, shy in junior high, high school. Even when I was in a gang, I wasn't really the loud one and stuff like that. When I was selling drugs, I wasn't loud. I didn't have a personality the way I do now. Um,
It seems like you're kind
yeah,
of
I was,
light
that,
but you light up when the cameras roll is what it is, I think. And you're diligently doing your work, and I think people just like you. I mean, there's no secret to it. 3 shows on the Food Network, but beating Bobby Flay. I mean, come on. You said he was your idol, right?
yeah, I grew up looking up to him. He's been to 2 of my restaurants in Santa Fe that I worked at. I missed him
Wow.
both days, of course. And he cooks the same style of food I do, southwestern fine dining Mexican food, and that's what I do. That's what I cook. He cooks the same kind of food I do, same style.
So
And
it
then to
sounds
be invited and asked to be on his show and try to beat him at his own game in his own kitchen in his own stadium on his own show, like. And my wife told me, and they asked me, they're like, "Do you want to do Beat Bobby Flay?" And I was like, "Absolutely not! Like, there's
oh,
no
there we go
way."
again.
And there goes my wife, like, and she's the one that said, like, you can beat him. Like, I know you can beat him. And it's like, no way. Like, he's the king of the Southwest. Like, that's Southwestern cooking. When I think of Southwestern cooking, I think of him right away. And yeah, I beat out the first chef, and then I got a chance to compete with him, and then I beat him on my own dish that I challenged him on, and it was a unanimous decision on the judges'
Wow.
part. And the judges don't know who cooked what or who made what. Like, you have to hold your poker face while they're tasting everything. And yeah, when they announced my name, and I remember picking him up, like, after watching the show and they announced my name, and I physically saw it on TV. Like, I don't remember picking him up off his feet after they announced that I won until I saw it on TV. I was like, I don't remember picking him up. Like a little kid.
Wow. So now what? I mean, what did he say to you after that happened? I mean, do you guys talk? I mean, because that's just a big, big deal to beat this guy.
Well,
I mean,
after the round was over, he came over and he looked at my plates, and I went over there and looked at his plates, and he told me right away. He was like, "Dude, I totally fucked it up." I was like, "Why? What do you mean?" I was like, "It looks beautiful." He was like, "No, my fillings started coming out when I put it in the fryer," and he's like, "I totally ruined it." He's like, "Your dish looks great." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." He says that to everybody, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, it ended up turning into a unanimous decision, and we hung out for about 30 minutes to an hour after
did you cook him a meal
him and I
after
started
that?
to cook.
Did you invite him over for dinner? Fernando,
Yes, ma'am.
did you invite him over for dinner after that? I mean, if you stayed friendly or not really?
We stayed friendly. My manager gets in contact with his manager, and we're going to try to work some stuff out to where maybe we can meet up and maybe do something later on.
Well, that's
And he asked me before we started cooking, he said, "What are you trying to do?" He's all, "You already won guys' grocery games. You won Chops." He's all, "You trying to win them all?" And I was like, "Dude, like, I'd much rather be in New Mexico right now. Like, my wife is the one that basically convinced me to do all of this, pushed me to do it, which her name is Michelle Romero, and she's now sitting next to me.
That's
You want
just
to say hi?"
incredible. So, what's your goal here? You're still a top chef. I'm sure the Food Network, if they're smart, is offering you your own show. If not one with Bobby Flay, you said maybe you were going to work on something together. What is next for you? Because your story is so inspiring. You're a phenomenal cook. What do you
So
want?
we're working on, I mean, I don't know if I want my own TV show. If that's something that comes along, that's great. You know what I mean? Why not?
Why
Not
not?
have my own TV show?
Ask your wife. If she says yes, it's going to happen. I'm telling you, this is how your life is going. What's that?
She's laughing. She's laughing right next to me, and she knows that if it comes up, that
It's
she'll
true. If
convince
she
me
says
to do
it's going to happen, just give into it already. It means it's going to happen and it's going to be a success. So there you go. But so you're not really sure if you want a show, but I'm sure it'll happen.
it. If they want to do one, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, why not? Let's have fun with it.
Yes, absolutely. At this point, after winning 3 on the Food Network, which is massive, I agree. If not, just go ahead and do it, or do one with Bobby Flay. But I know you also have another. You're working on a book. Is that correct? And I know your goal is to also have your
Yeah,
own restaurant.
yeah. I have. We're looking at a restaurant location in Santa Fe with an investor friend of mine. I'm working on a book, which is it's going to be little autobiography kind of cookbook, but what I will really want to integrate in that cookbook is basically the evolution of either prison food or jail food from like the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s to what they're eating now.
That is so cool and so interesting. I'm sure a lot of people are going to relate to that. I mean, really, what a great idea. I do not know any cookbooks on the market that are doing that. So I say that's a hit
And to be
already.
honest, like, there's so much other food that we were eating in jail that we're making that we were getting from our commissary.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, which
Yeah.
they call jailhouse. And basically, you can make something really good with hot chips and beef and cheddar sticks and corn nuts and hot water. There's a great example there.
Hey, I got to ask
So
this.
yeah,
There are times, even when you were on a high, that you got into that car and you wanted to drive back and go get into that sort of bad space where you were in. Do you still have to fight
right.
that off, or is it really now in
I
the
don't.
past?
No, it's gone. It's long gone.
Really?
Long gone out. Yeah, nobody has to worry about that.
Really?
It's done.
What do you say? Because I only have a couple minutes with you. What do you say to people about prisoners, about inmates? Because you have the close-up view that we don't have. Are they being?
I mean,
Go ahead.
they're not. It's not somewhere where you go to get corrected. Like, it's called Department of Corrections or jail. I mean, there's no programs in there that are really there to help people. It's a business. I hate to say it. I mean, it is what it is. But there's a lot of good people in jail, and there's a lot of bad people in jail. The bad people are the ones that belong in jail. But there's a lot of good people in jail. You know what I mean? That just got a bad break. They had a bad accident. Something happened. I mean, I knew a lawyer. He was in his late 60s. He went to his grandson's birthday party. He had 4 beers. He drove home 2 blocks from his son's house and ran over some kid and killed him on his bike.
Oh,
And total accident.
yeah.
And to me, it could happen to anybody. I mean, who hasn't done that? Who hasn't driven drunk and gotten away with it to where you could have a tragic accident and ruin somebody's life or ruin other people's lives as well? But there
That's
is
a little,
people that belong in jail.
but that too is a little different than what you did. I mean, you were dealing in drugs and weapons and everything else. I mean, you were really doing some bad stuff in and out and in and out. But you found a way to rehab yourself, and I really hope that all the work that you're doing in the future, the book, a restaurant of your own, and I know you're going to be on the Food Network or coming to cook for me. You promised me that, that you'd come and
We can do that. I'll come see you.
when you're in
I'll
LA,
bring
and I'm
Michelle
one of
with
those
me. I'll
people.
bring my wife Michelle with me.
No,
And
no,
we'll
no.
go to LA.
I must meet her. That would actually be a lot of fun. So maybe we could like figure something out with the publicist Turk. What do you think?
Yes, she's sitting right next to me. Can she say hi to you?
Yeah. Well, please. Hello.
Hi there.
Okay,
Hi.
you are a badass lady. I think you are amazing. And every time, every time you wanted to turn around and give up, you're like, get back over here. You know, you're going to go on the Food Network. I so admire you. You're incredible. Can you manage my career too?
Somebody asked me the other day if I ever thought of being a life coach because I don't give up. As
Girl.
easy as most.
I think you're amazing. I think you're even more amazing than your husband, Chef, is what I do. I think he's really talented, and I think you're just absolutely incredible. So, an amazing couple, and congratulations to you, your 3 children. You deserve every bit of success that you're getting, both of you. And I really, really appreciate you being on here. Now, I know there's going to be people who are going to want to get in touch with you, Fernando. How can they do that? On your social, or do you
They
have an
can.
email? What's that?
On social media, you can find me on Facebook under Fernando Ruiz.
Mm-hmm.
And on Instagram, you can find me under Chef _Fernando Ruiz 77.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to come on our show because our listeners and viewers were so excited to have you on. So thank you so much. And I hope that we get to meet when you're out in
Thank
Los
you.
Angeles. I really, really do. And
Thank you.
I wish you all the success. You deserve it. You're a hardworking man and very inspiring. So thank you for being
Thank
on.
you so much.
Thanks. And we'll
Of
see you
course.
next
And
time.
when I'm in your area, I'll reach out to you and I'll cook you some dinner.
I hope you do because I will take you
And
up
I'm
on
serious.
cooking.
I'm serious about it. I'm serious about it.
Well, so am I. I'm Italian from New Jersey. When I say something, it's going to happen. So anyway,
That's it.
thank you
There
so
we
much
go.
for
Good.
thank you so much for being here. And everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to Deborah Kobylt Live. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook and on the iHeartRadio app for those of you who are listening, and Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, and everywhere else that you get your podcasts. So I appreciate you all tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.